Welcome to the Transfer Exchange Show. We are live, and it is the weekly review of the Euro 2020s. And I have to say, boys, I've been impressed with the football so far. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. Loved it.
Yeah.
Keep it coming.
Yeah.
Keep it coming.
Keep it coming up. I was loving the 3 games a day. I'll be at work. I'll be watching a game. I'll be on my way home. I'll be watching a game. I'll come home. I'll be watching a game. It was bliss. Now it's gone down to 1 game, essentially. We get to view 1 game because they're all on at the same time. So it's not the same. It's getting it feels like it's starting to come to an end. The realization that it's coming to an end. But while it's here, we're going to enjoy it. All right? All right. Let's do a little recap of the week so far. We started off with Belgium versus Germany. We spoke about that. We done our review on that one, Steve. It felt like it was going the way we said. Denmark starting well, but then the class of Belgium just shone through, didn't it?
It did.
With what I see Belgium as at the moment is kind of individuals. I don't think they're the best team as a collective, but when the individuals turn it on, they're hard to stop, aren't they, Steve?
They're very hard to stop, and you was exactly right. It was panning out exactly the way we said in the pre-match, right at the beginning of the first 30 minutes. But what also we said, Kieron, in the pre-match was, if you look at the 2 benches, that also could change it. I mean, I was thinking that Denmark had a chance, but if it got to the time where, Belgium did bring a few of their superstars on from the bench, then things could change, and that's exactly what happened. De Bruyne came on, Hazard came on, and they changed the game from the bench. And Denmark just simply not as strong on the bench, but they give a good account of themselves, and I don't think they let them down.
Yeah. Anyone impressed you in the Belgium and Denmark game, Jerome?
Who impressed me in that game? Well, Lukaku's just a handful, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just an absolute handful, and in this tournament, he's gonna. It doesn't, he just needs 1 chance really, Lukaku, and he just bullies the defenders.
Man United crazy for letting him go, yeah.
Well, in hindsight, I guess yes, but I think I can't remember what Nathan was saying about it. Whether he thought he had to go, sort of thing. But he's the type of player that you don't want to be playing against him, do you? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And De Bruyne, as you said, Steve, in that game, showed his class. Even Torgan Hazard chipping in with the goal that Belgium scored to equalise was just unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, it was old. We said before the tour, or I said before the tournament, that I wasn't too sure of the Belgium what we was going to see. We was going to see that free flowing Belgium where they, you was going to see 3 or 4 or 5 goals, or we was going to see the one recently where they were struggling a little bit, and what happened was we see when they brought on the players from the bench, mainly De Bruyne. We did see that Belgium of 2-3 years ago, and although the score was 2-1, in the end it was pretty comfortable because you couldn't see Denmark scoring. They're still not. I still don't think they're going to win it. I still don't think they'll push some of the other teams just due to the some of the other players. I mean, they can't rely on De Bruyne all the time. But yeah, I mean, they were very impressive at least when they brought on the superstars.
Yeah, Jerome, what do you see as Belgium's weaknesses? Why potentially they might not win it? Where would they come unstuck in the latter stages against the better quality teams?
Possibly the centre backs.
Mm-hmm.
That's possibly an area. Maybe their central midfield as well is what it is. You're really nitpicking here because you're comparing them to like the elite teams, like the Frances and Germanys, and Italy's, and that's they can play against Denmark and do that, but when you're playing against the top teams in the competition, then little differences they make all the difference. So maybe those couple of areas, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, we saw, and we'll get onto this in a bit. We saw that kind of little differences when Germany turned it on against Portugal, and Germany were, for me, surprisingly at their best. They were unbelievable yesterday when they switched it on, and they were running Portugal ragged. And Portugal are no mugs, but the difference in the likes of Toni Kroos and William Carvalho, that maybe showed a difference in the end when it counted. But we'll get onto that in a bit. Another game that where a team done well in the first match and then kind of slipped off in the second was Sweden versus Slovakia. Slovakia had a good start in the first game. Sweden managed to get a point against Spain in the first game, but in this game they won it 1-0. And one of the stars of the show was Alexander Isaks. I know, Jerome, you've had a look at him previously. Player for the future, serious talent. Yeah,
when we spoke about him, he's got a lot of good attributes. Like I think he can be a player for the future, but also for now as well. He's a bit. See, I think when I look at him, he's a little bit unconventional. Sometimes the way he moves, he's not like some of these silky players, but people that probably never heard of him before, they've seen him play these couple of games, and all of a sudden, like people are talking about him, aren't they?
Yeah.
So he's obviously had a decent tournament so far.
This is the tournament. These tournaments where we may talk about these players on a Sunday or a Wednesday, and no one really hears about them. But when they play for their country, they can turn it on. But it's these kind of tournaments where they really set themselves apart. It's they really step into the limelight where they can get that big move and show what they're about. How much did Isaacs impress you in that game the other day, Steve?
Yeah, he really impressed me. This is really the first chance that I've had had a good look at him, and I like him a lot, and I can see why the big clubs are after him. He's something different. He's not like he's unconventional, and when I've seen him up against defenses in so far in the Euros. It seems to me that the defenders don't know what to do with him. They don't know whether to go to him. They don't know whether to lay off of him. Sometimes he looks a bit clumsy, but he's not. He seems to wriggle his way out of things, and I think there's just like defenders just can't make him out. I think, and he's. I could definitely see why. The big clubs, I think Man City were after him at one point. Arsenal were taking a look at him. He's very impressive, and I mean he's only young, and I think this kid's got a big career ahead of him.
Yeah, another player that played well in that game was Olsen, Everton's number 2. Kind of kept him in the game. Some serious saves in there, and really done well for Sweden in that game. We also saw Croatia versus Czech Republic. Czech Republic could come in the surprise package of the tournaments potentially. Patrick Schick not just doing it in that previous game, getting a goal. I know it was a slightly harsh penalty, some would say, but Czech Republic, I think they were underestimated before, and it's easy to see why. But when it counts, they've turned it on, and they're taking points against these teams. Adrian.
Yeah, they are. People called, I guess, before the tournament started, people were calling Turkey the dark horse of the tournament, but could be the Czech Republic. Yeah, that striker you just mentioned, shit. He is a proper handful, isn't he?
He is.
He's the Czech Republic Andy Carroll.
It's good.
And he was proper in the wars, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
That was for the penalty, wasn't it? He got.
Yeah.
But stuck away the penalty well. And you've obviously got the boys from West Ham that are in the team.
Yeah.
They look decent. Like, I thought they could have beat Croatia, to be honest. And they are impressive. They seem like a really hard team to play against.
Yeah, Croatia aren't quite there. They've not really. They're getting older, and they're not really bringing through the next generation of talent. It doesn't seem that way, does it, Steve?
No. It seems like they're littered now with all sort of players that have been around and not too like. There's not really any youngsters coming through. There's experience there, but experience is not going to be enough to get them through this tournament. We obviously see the class of Modric, and although he was pretty quiet in this game, I mean there were times when his touch was just world class. But it's not enough just to have Modric in the side.
Yeah.
The guy up front, Rebeck.
It's been a disappointment, hasn't he?
He's been an awful disappointment.
His touch has been awful. His position has been awful. He's not been good at all.
I mean, it's like his legs made of like a tree trunk where it just bounces off and just goes to another player. But I agree with Jerome about the Czechs. I mean, before the tournament, not really anybody knew much about them. But I think that England are going to have their work cut out, and the guy up front is a typical Eastern European centre forward who's tough, strong.
Good all rounder, isn't he? Though as well, he's got a little bit of pace about him. He's not slow. He's strong. He's not scared to get in the wars, and he can finish.
Well, I liked his attitude towards the penalty. I mean, I see the guy pick up the ball because he obviously was the penalty taker, but he had obviously was injured just before that, and you could see his nose, and he was black eyes just before coming out underneath his both eyes. His nose was out here, but he was like, "No, I'm taking this penalty."
That's what you want. That's what you want of your striker, isn't it?
And because of what I've seen of him in the last two games, I knew he was going to score.
Yeah.
Because he's got that type of character. I think there's going to be a lot of clubs to be after him in this window. I think. Yeah,
I think I think there's a few times he's popped up in the transfer roundup. So I think that's going to be quite a few more times come this summer. Do you see Czech Republic going through there? Or do you think Croatia might just snip it?
Well, for the Czechs to go through, I mean, what are the Czechs? I mean, what have they got? They've got.
I think
how many points they got?
4 points. 4 points.
I mean, that should see them through anyway. I would have.
Yeah, it just depends on the England game, doesn't it?
I mean, Croatia, they've got one, haven't they?
Croatia have got one, and then they've got they've got Scotland.
Yeah, I and Scotland need to win. They could still go through.
All goes down to the last one, doesn't it?
Cool. This is a tight group.
It's a tight group. Goal difference: Czech Republic on 2, England on 1, Croatia on -1, Scotland on -2. Scotland and Croatia both on 1 point. England and Czech both on 4 points. And as we've seen today, 4 points it doesn't guarantee you going through.
No.
So I think that goal difference could make a difference. Yeah. And obviously the big topic, because we are English, England versus Scotland. This is your chance to really get your teeth into this one. Jerome, we expected a lot of this game. England, if we're being honest, there's superior talent across the pitch. Yes, Scotland have some very good players in their team. We're not debating that. They've got some really good players in their team. But England, on paper, you're looking at this and you think you've got to win it. They came out of a 0-0 draw. What happened? Was it the setup? Was it the players? Is it the manager? happened on that day?
God, where to start, eh, boys? Where to start?
The pedestal is yours, mate.
Look, firstly, it's obviously easy for us to comment now after the event. However, the trouble I think with the England team is they're not really a team. It's just who does the manager think are the best players and put you on the pitch. And I think maybe what Italy might show us is Italy. Look, they're very good players, obviously, but they really play as a team. And I think when you're the England manager, you've got to forget who is the best in that position, because you need to think of because these players don't play with each other every week. They hardly ever play with each other. So you've got to I think, change your approach and say, right, what team is going to be my best team? And play those players regularly so they can build up some kind of rapport. And how many times has Rice and Phillips played together over the last few years? A handful. It's just all the combinations just keep changing. I don't think that's helpful. I think he sort of does know his best 11, but I think that best 11 isn't England's best 11, if you know what I mean. I think you've got to find a way of getting Grealish into that team, and if you have to leave someone out who you think is better than him, I think so be it. Me and Steve and I think Nathan spoke, I think before the game, about you've got a world-class striker in Harry Kane, and you're not making any use of him at all, and that is a massive problem. You might as well have pick any striker in the world. You might as well have played them up front for England, because they would have done exactly the same as Harry Kane in that game. He got no service, and it was just a little bit boring, wasn't it? We've got all this attacking flair, yet we're probably one of the most boring teams to watch.
Our attacking flair's not on the pitch, are they?
Yeah, I don't know, but if you look at the players individually, Foden, fantastic player. Sterling, he hasn't had the best of seasons, but still a very good player. But you know what they say about a job of a manager: get the most out of every one of your players. Yeah. And the manager's not doing that, and they just don't look like a team, do they? They don't look like, they just look like I know it's a cliche, just a team of individuals.
Yeah, Steve, what did you see as the problem the other day?
Well, first of all, I think he's got his two teams wrong both times. I think he's picked the wrong side, and I totally agree with what the boys just said there. That I think he's just trying to put the best players into a pitch and put them on the pitch, because against Scotland, you had Foden, you got Mount, you got Sterling. They're too samey. They're too the same. They're like, there's nothing different about them. Sterling and Mount and Foden, if you put them into one body, you'd still have the same player, but you've got three players on the pitch, and it makes no sense to me. Mount and Foden shouldn't be playing together for me.
I'd say that definitely. I wouldn't say so much Sterling, but you're 100% right for me with Mount and Foden. Yeah. When you've got, with me, you've got two defensive midfielders in there. You've got Rice and Phillips against Scotland. Yeah, sure, you're at home. We forgetting we're at home. Yeah, that's the first and most important thing. We're playing at home. Yeah, you've got a double pivot of two defensive midfielders in Phillips and Rice. Yeah, and then you've got the most central midfield front three in front of them that I've ever seen. Mount is a midfielder, but he's a more of an attacking side midfielder. He's not an AM centre. He's a centre midfielder who's got more of an attacking body. He loves a shot. He loves the pass. He loves to make forward passes. He's a good player. I love him. But he's not an attacking midfielder. Yeah, Foden, he's a classy player. He's beautiful to watch. When he's on his day, he's untouchable. But he's not a Jadon Sancho, and he's not a forward. He's not. Yeah. So you've nullified the team already. You've already played. It's such a defensive team. Yeah. How is Mount? Has Mount ever played off a striker before? and
No.
not just created, but also scored goals on a regular basis. No, he hasn't. So how people are out there digging out Harry Kane when the poor geezer's had 3 touches in a game?
No.
Like it's ludicrous. People are digging out Harry Kane when he's had 2 or 3 touches in a game. Yeah, there's no one running off of him. There's no one making runs in the channels. There's no one pulling away defenders. They had Kieron Tierney, Scott McTominay, and Grant Hanley as a centre back 3. Yeah, a centre midfielder, a left back, and a championship defender. And that's not anything against Grant Hanley because he's a top championship defender, but he's championship because he's been in the Premiership 3 times and he's been relegated 3 times. He's a championship defender. All right. And Harry Kane would eat them up for breakfast on a normal day, but he had no service. Yeah. There's no one getting in the channels. They had wing backs and we didn't even get into the gaps when they went forward. Yes, Robertson and yes, O'Donnell were getting back and they were up and down like Mo Farah. It was ridiculous, their energy in that game. But you didn't make them think. You didn't take any risks. And I cannot watch a team take no risks. I don't want this team to go through taking no risk, get knocked out in the quarterfinals, and we've got a quarterfinal knockout on our thing, so it looks okay like that. That's no good to me.
Look,
Kieran, that's
sorry.
Roger?
all I was going to say. Kieran's made that's the exact point. If Southgate put went attacking, put all the exciting players on the pitch, I don't think the fans and the media and stuff would really complain because that's what everyone wants ultimately, isn't it?
They do.
Honestly, that is. If you go out and you try and play attacking football and you lose 4-3, but you've really gone for it, and you lose to the better team, you say, look, hold your hands up.
But even there's a base. There's a base. Look, you've got your attack. Okay, what we need to do. Remember when Liverpool, they were just scoring goals, and it was just like they need to sort out defence. Like if we can go forward and score plenty of goals, and we've got to just sort out defence, we've got a base there. Right now, I don't even know where to go because it weren't as if Scotland didn't have any chances because they cleared 2 off the line. So being defensive ain't working.
Look, when you've got Harry Kane, who's your world class player, Tottenham play around him, right? Portugal play around Ronaldo. Yeah, we could go on and on and on and on and on. When Kane plays for Spurs, Kane don't stay as a centre forward, which he's doing for England, and move. Yeah, he can't drop in. He can't drop back because he's got no one forward enough to go and run in. For Tottenham, he's got Son.
Exactly.
Right? He's got Bale, right?
Yeah.
I know people are getting obsessed by Foden, Man, and Sterling, right?
Yeah. Because it's pretty.
Bring in Sancho. Bring in Rashford.
Yeah.
Right? Take Sterling out. Take Foden or Man out. Phillips has done fantastic. Bring him out. Put Bellingham in.
Yeah.
Put something different. Play off Harry Kane. So that Harry Kane can drop. And then Rashford can move in and score a goal. Or play Calvert-Lewin. Oh no, Rashford can play wide. So you're probably better off playing Rashford. So then Kane's got, and then he can manoeuvre. He can drop in. He can move out. And then when Kane moves out, defenders will go with him. And then Rashford comes in.
Yeah, exactly. But not being funny.
I'm not an England manager, but is that not obvious?
But Steve, I swear, when Harry Kane was scoring goals for England, he was playing up top with Rashford. And that was what was happening. Harry Kane would drop out wide, Rashford would go into the middle. Yeah. But when you've got players like Foden, you've got players like Mount, it's not in their natural mindset, to as soon as that player drops off or drops into a different space, I'm going to be that forward player. I kind of saw Sterling doing it, but Sterling's not in form. Sterling's movement's not been great. Sterling's touch has not been great. So, do you know what I mean? I kind of feel for him because he's being put in that position. He ain't on form. He's not there. He's not confident. So he's not got that pomp. He's not got that swag. But we need people who have got that in them forward positions especially.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of England need to change. I worry that it's not going to happen. And the most annoying thing is we don't get to test out these other players in this final match. It's like if you're playing the players, if you change the team now with multiple changes and bring in those players that haven't had game time in this final match, I see that as a big risk. Whereas if you would have won that last game, you've got this final match to just play who you want, whoever you want.
Yeah.
Now bring in the right players, but now you're going to go into the final stage of the tournament where certain players won't get any game time at all, and they may be needed at certain points. Players like Calvert-Lewin may be needed later on in the tournament, and he's not had a touch on the ball. Grealish has had 20 minutes. Bellingham hasn't had any. Sancho has had none, which is criminal.
Sancho and Bellingham have got to be brought in for me. Right, those two have got to start in the next game because the two games that we've just seen hasn't worked. Yeah, Kane's got nullified. He can't get down to that. I mean, in the first game, Nathan was saying we all agreed that the right and the left back wasn't getting down the line, so Kane was getting no service. From the flanks. Well, we got put in James and we put in Sean. We still got no service down from the flanks with him.
Yeah, well, James was very much like a Gary Neville type defender. It wasn't getting forward much at all. But was that because they were worried about getting forward, which is crazy. Like how are you worried about getting forward against Scotland? Like Shaw got forward early doors, but then after that it stopped. It was like the first 10 minutes. It was like kind of encouraging. We could do something here, and all of a sudden switched it off. Didn't want to go forward. Didn't want to press. Didn't want to be attacking. Didn't want to take any risks. And it's a big game against Czech. And as we're saying, Czech are a dangerous team. You can't sleep on Czech because they could cause you trouble and you will get knocked out. But let's give some credit to Scotland. Yeah, we can't. It's not all bad. England, Billy Gilmore, John McGinn, Kieron Tierney, Scott McTominay, Grant Hanley, Landon Dykes, Shay Adams, exceptional, brilliant. Yeah. Landon Dykes, I was kind of probably harsh on him in the first game. Didn't have the greatest of first games. It was kind of trying to do a lot, didn't do much. But against England, I thought he was excellent. I thought he was kept the defenders busy. He made John Stones get out of position a lot. He tried it early doors with Mings. Mings weren't having none of it. But what he did do is by leaving a little bit on Shaw, it left all the defenders wasted their time concentrating on trying to get him back. So he was getting free kicks around the area, and they nearly scored from a couple. How good was Billy Gilmore, Jerome?
Yeah, he's been brilliant, isn't he? He's another one of those central midfielders. He very rarely puts a foot wrong, does he? He doesn't. He's not going to light up a game, but he very rarely makes mistakes.
But he's the kind of person who plays who will let someone else light up the game.
Yeah, exactly. And you need those sort of players because obviously we've seen it from watching our club teams. You'll make one mistake at this sort of level, and that could be the game. So if you've got a player that is just, not going to make these glaring errors, then you got half a chance. But he was excellent, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him if he gets a chance at Chelsea, if he just becomes a squad player, or if he does go, because he's the type of player that he deserves to be playing like regularly. He doesn't deserve to sit on the bench, does he?
No. And I think again, it's another player in this tournament who's shown his class and shown that it's time to play regular first team football. Steve, do you see Chelsea taking up that potential 2-season loan with Juventus, or loaning him out for a season at least?
Do you know what? Do you know what? Looking at Chelsea's players in the middle, I still can't see him getting a game.
No, he won't.
So I think it'd be good for him to go. I mean, if Juventus would take him, I mean, it looks like they're going to be buying Locatelli. So I don't know where he would fit in. Mm-hmm. But he's certainly, there's going to be certainly clubs that are going to want him next season.
Yeah.
And he's a quality player. We knew he was a quality player before we came into this. I mean, we done a little preview of him, earlier in the year, where we was talking about, he had his 2 games that he's played for Chelsea. He smashed it. I think one was against Man United, one was against Liverpool. He come out being man of the match on both.
Yeah, he did, and he come out and man of the match in the England game as well.
Exactly, says it all, didn't he? He's a quality player. I don't think Chelsea want to let him go. I mean, he's mad if they do, but it's quite quality, and well done, Scotland.
Yeah, so big games next, all to play for as well. So we'll make sure we're watching them. Yesterday, I called it before the game as potentially game of the weekend, but for me, it's probably been the game of the tournament. Portugal versus Germany. From the minute the kickoff went, it was absolute fire. Unbelievable game. 6-goal thriller. Germany went down, but not for too long. They pulled it back and they ended up winning 4-2. Jerome, you see the game? Quality game? Enjoy it?
Yeah, I watched it. Brilliant. Surprised that Germany went a goal down because they seemed to have all the early possession.
Come out the blocks, didn't they?
Then they got hit on the counter-attack.
Yeah.
By Portugal, but they I think Germany played quite well. I thought they played very well against France, but they were just up against a very, very good team. But look, the German midfield, Kroos and Gundogan, if you want to keep the ball, I mean, they are like keep ball specialists, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they're never going to have a problem in terms of possession. But you know what? Amazing game. I'm surprised that Sane is not getting in the team. I'm really surprised he's not playing.
Do you know what? We spoke about this before the game about Germany maybe coming unstuck with not using their pace. But they have got an option to use that if they need to off the bench. But like you, I am surprised that they're not using the likes of Werner, Sane to really inject some serious pace into the team. They've gone for more of a tactical play and using those wing backs.
Yeah, Nabry's been brilliant for them. He's excellent. They just that midfield's always going to give them like chances in games, and they could have scored more. To be honest, couldn't they? They could have scored more than just the 4 goals.
Yeah,
brilliant.
And Steve,
they got a great chance this tournament, Germany.
Oh yeah. All right. You can't underestimate the Germans, mate. You can't.
That's what I said before it started.
Ruben Gosens, Steve. That volleyed cross, unreal. How good was that?
Oh, it was just the technique to do that. I mean. I haven't been too aware of Ruben Gosens, and we had a little chat with Marie about him, and she was like bigging him up big time. So I was saying I made a point of watching him against France, and I agree with what Jerome said. Actually, I don't think they was that bad against France at all.
Dominated possession, didn't they?
Yeah. So, but this Ruben Gosens, I mean, he's just put another £15 million up on his, on his transfer fee. But he's been outstanding for Atlanta. But I mean, that little volley was absolutely incredible. I mean, you've got to have played the game. I'm sure you all know how hard it is to sort of firstly to sort of like direct that and get the right type of pace on it to get it across. It's immensely difficult. But excellent performance, man of the match for me, and I just can't wait to see him in the next game against Hungary. But Germany's Germany, and never count Germany out. And and similar to Italy, they are a team. Yeah. They are a proper team. If you look at the team, you'll see that there's a lot of players there who played with each other with, for a long while, and they've just got this knack of when it comes to tournament football, they turn it on. All right, they didn't do great last tournament, but you can give them that, considering all what they've done in other tournaments. But yeah, I mean, the way they line up, it's very weird because they don't actually play with a centre forward, do they? Or a
No, they don't.
forward
It's Kai
player.
Havertz seems to be the guy that's in and around there.
They play with the false
moves
nine,
up front.
don't they?
Yeah, Gnabry drops in there sometimes. So it keeps the defenders thinking. But then you've not got a vocal point. But then if it works for them, it works for them. Like if they've got the tactics there that's going to work, then it's not a problem. And I think they kind of came unstuck with that against France, but against this Portuguese team, which you would have expected, they're no slouches. They're a serious team. They're a contender in this tournament.
Absolutely,
they made them look average in the end. They were all over the place, Portugal.
Yeah, I mean, it's we another thing that which we said at the beginning of the tournament before it starts. We said that Germany's 1 to 11 is as good as any in the tournament. If they can keep that 1 to 11 all the time. I mean, you just have a look at that team that played against Portugal. That's you got Rudiger, you got Hummels, you got Kimmich there. You got Kroos and Gundogan in the midfield, and you got Muller, you got Gnabry. You got Havertz, you got Gusens. I mean, come on! If that team that hasn't got a chance of winning the tournament, then I don't know what is. I mean, and England look like they're going to. Well, England will have to play one of these. And I mean, come on! I mean,
it doesn't matter which one they play, does it?
No, it doesn't.
They're in trouble.
I mean, the only way they can get away with it. I mean, it's a funny situation because. If I had looked at the group before we come on and who plays who, but as funny as it sounds, it's better that we lose because then we end up playing either Spain, Poland, or one of them. And but if we win the group, we end up playing one of these mob.
Yeah.
So how does that play in your head? But you've got to hope on other games, so I don't really believe you can't.
It's too much of a risk, isn't it? It's too much of a risk. You can't. You take a draw. You try and play for a draw. I mean, how can you play for a draw? You can't.
No, you can't. Because if Croatia beat Czechoslovakia, then you've had.
Look, exactly. What you got to do is forget about it. At the end of the day, you're going to have to play one of these teams in the final. So if you're really serious about winning the tournament, play them earlier doors and knock them out early doors and play that team that you're hoping for, that you would have got second place in the final. So it doesn't matter either way. You're gonna when you're a serious team, you're playing serious football. You got to take on these teams to show that you're an elite team as well. I mean, look at the group of death: France, Portugal.
Yeah. But also, was it the last Euros or not the World Cup just gone? I can't remember which one. When we played Iceland, and you thought, easy, come unstuck. So just because you're going to play a so-called lesser team doesn't guarantee that you're going to win the game.
Exactly, because players' minds switch off. It might not be. They might not go into the game thinking, "Oh, this is an easy game, boys. We've got this," but subconsciously, they're thinking you've stepped it down. You're not as alert as you are if you was playing in France, and that's a problem. Definitely. And today we saw the first set of final group games. Wales took on Italy, lost 1-0, and Swiss beat Turkey 3-1. But Wales still went through. Top result there for Wales. Hung in. They've got to be happy with that, Jerome?
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I guess they've done all their hard work against Turkey, didn't they, Wales? That's the game that's got them through. And they had even though they went down to 10 men, they had Gareth Bale had a good chance on the volley.
He did.
Not obviously, technically difficult, but for someone like Bale, that's a very good chance.
He's been missing chances in this tournament, I have to say.
Yeah.
Missed the penalty.
I think Ramsey went through once at a weird angle and sort of. I don't know if he got the ball stuck under his feet or he couldn't make up his mind what he wanted to do. Yeah. He could have bent it with the outside of his right foot into the far corner. He could have tried to do that. But fair play to Wales, brilliant. And I just the game against Turkey, I loved watching that. They've done so well.
Yeah, they did. And Steve, Switzerland have to be. They've got to be kicking themselves. The goals they scored today, two absolute world-class strikes from Shaqiri and a world-class strike from Turkey. 3-1 victory, not enough to go through. They must be absolutely feeling sick.
Yeah, I mean, I think always one of the team, a good side, was always going to go out of that group. I mean, it was either going to be Switzerland, it was either going to be Wales, and they'd probably be, Switzerland probably could be the strongest team to go home. But I mean, it's a shame. I mean, there's nothing worse than performing like the way they did today. I don't think they've done bad all tournament. I don't think they'll deserve to go home. I'm sure what's going to happen, you'll find, once all the games have been played, that there'll be a team where you think, well, how'd they get through? Do you know what I mean? And you think, well, maybe Switzerland should be there, but it is what it is. They got out, they knocked out, and I mean, there's not much more to say about Switzerland really, but I mean, they should go home with their heads high. They ain't had a bad tournament. 1-1 drawn, 1 lost 1. Yeah. So I mean, they should be proud of themselves.
And then we've got the final games of tomorrow of this group C. We've got games tomorrow. We've got Macedonia versus Netherlands, Austria versus Ukraine, and then we've got Group B as well. We've got Finland versus Belgium and Russia versus Denmark. I think Denmark, Russia, Belgium are essentially through. We've got Russia, Finland, and Denmark could still go through if results go their way. The Netherlands, they're essentially through with 6 points, and then the same again, Ukraine, Austria, and North Macedonia. I mean, valiant effort, but I just can't see them going through.
No.
But it's probably out of Ukraine and Austria. And I'd probably say, if I'm honest, I'd probably say Ukraine have probably deserved it more. They've been more attacking. I feel like they've gone for it a bit more, and I've not been too impressed by Austria, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean they've got Yarmolenko of West Ham. He's been on form for them, hasn't he? I think he scored a goal in the first game. I mean, he scored a goal in the second game. I mean, Yarmolenko is someone that I've stuck in my fantasy team because I've been impressed with him, and so they've got players, and they do look really decent when I've seen them play. They look dangerous, but I think Nathan he flagged them up at the beginning of the tournament and said, keep an eye out for Ukraine, and he was spot on.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout. I just want to take a quick question from the comment section. What's the best way to play Captain Harry Kane? Jerome?
Brilliant question. What a brilliant question that is. Well, so far it hasn't worked, has it? So I think you've got to change the personnel. What I'd like to see is, like Steve mentioned, Sancho play. And I'd like to see Grealish, because I think you need to create chances for him. And I think if you've got Sancho and Grealish on the pitch, their main job is going to be to create goals. I mean, Grealish, before he got injured, he was one of the top assists in the league. Sancho as well, his numbers are ridiculous. Like, I'd start them because you can't continue playing the way we've been playing. So I would change the personnel and see if that works. But it's a great question, and it's something that Southgate's got to solve, isn't it?
He's got to ask himself that. Steve, what would you do?
Well, I mean, I sort of answered this question in when you asked me about England. But I feel that. As you say, it's personnel. I feel things have got to be changed. I think we've got to use Harry Kane more than what we have been with the players that we've been playing. He's been having to be used as literally a centre forward, and he's been stuck in that position and not being allowed to drop, because if he drops, the three midfield players behind him are not running into channels. So I don't know if Southgate's told him that, but for me, I think we need another goal scorer on the pitch. Yeah. I would play Marcus Rashford, and yeah, I mean, Grealish, play Grealish or Sancho. But again, like I said, one thing I wouldn't do is play Foden or Mount around him, because I just think he gets lost around that, because then you'd have Mount, Foden, and Grealish. So that's too. No,
Yeah.
but to answer your question in a few words is I feel that to get the best out of Harry Kane, we need another striker on the pitch.
All right. So he's answered the question, Steve. Thank you very much, Jerome. Thank you very much for everyone in the comment section. Thank you very much for everyone who watched. That was our weekly summary. We will be doing it again next week. And obviously, yeah, we'll be giving you the match previews and post-match reactions. Thank you for joining us today, Jerome.
Pleasure. Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
And thank you for joining us tonight, Steve.
Yeah, pleasure, Kieron. Cheers.
All right. And thank you, everyone who joined us here today. Thank you very much. You got this, he says. Thank you very much. Peace out, people. Stay safe. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe. And wash